Marpa sent Milarepa again and again to build. A house of many stories, then an annex of 12 pillars. Each time the walls rose, Marpa would look, refuse, and send him back to start again. These were not meaningless chores. Each demolition and rebuilding was a ritual of purification, a tearing down of karmic formations, and a rebuilding on new ground. Milarepa had raised storms that destroyed homes and crops. Now his own hands were commanded to raise homes for others, only to see them torn apart. The cycle of construction and destruction became a mirror of his karmic cycle. By submitting to the task, he enacted the reversal, no longer destroying in anger but building in devotion, no longer cursing in vengeance but sweating in humility. Other peoples have known this medicine of building. My ancestors in the Celtic lands piled stones into cairns, raised rings of earth and wood, built enclosures for the dead and for the gods. These were not only structures but labors that inscribed karma into the land, transmuting grief and vow into stones that still stand. In Bhutan, too, temples were raised as embodiments of karmic repair, a community's way of transforming violence and division into walls that housed dharma, prayer, and community life. Milarepa's endless building belongs to that lineage of sacred labor. It is not hazing, it is karmic choreography. To lift stones while sores open on your back, knowing it will be torn down. To build again with no certainty of reward. That is purification made visible. It is the Bodhisattva's training to keep working for others even when the fruit seems endlessly delayed. For us in Buddhagang, the teaching is clear. Our daily acts are our building. Sometimes what we build will be torn down by circumstance, by failure, by the harsh words of a good friend. That is not wasted. Each raising and raising is part of the purification. The question is not, will the building stand? But will the vow stand? If the vow endures, then every wall raised and broken is Dharma practice, turning bad karma into the foundation of awakening. This is the ripening of karma made visible. The body is the field where old seeds sprout. Milarepa had sown storms and deaths. Now the storm broke on his own skin. Marpa did not rush to comfort him. He pointed to Naropa, his own master who endured 24 trials that shattered pride and burned away hidden stains. Naropa's body was beaten, humiliated, tested, until no clinging remained. Marpa held up that mirror. If you want the Dharma, do not think you will be spared what your teachers carried. In this lineage, the sores were not random cruelty. They were the altar where karmic debt was offered up. Milarepa wept, even wished for death. He thought himself cursed, unworthy, ready to abandon the path. Yet here the turning deepened. To stay with the wound rather than flee is already practice. To carry clay on a chest raw with sores is already vow. The Lama's wife wept for him, fed him, gave him counsel, kept him alive. Her tenderness balanced Marpa's severity, but both strands belonged to the medicine. Across traditions we find this truth. Sometimes the flesh itself must be given. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus tells of the one who would even sell the body for the sake of the kingdom. Whoever loves life enough to surrender it for wisdom finds the life that does not die. In Tibet, in Judea, in every land, the theme repeats. True transformation often cuts into the body, demands what feels unbearable, and yet in that place of pain, the vow is made indestructible. For our practice today, this scene teaches that despair is not an ending, but a field of ripening. Pain, humiliation, illness, loss. These are not signs the Dharma has abandoned us. They are often the very soil where the Dharma takes root. When we hold to the vow through sores and sorrow, when we let karma ripen without turning away, then the path becomes real. Not pleasant, not quick, but real. Scene 3, when Marpa cast Milarepa out with words and blows. The night was long and full of despair. He wished for death, feeling the full weight of what he had done, and the shame of being refused. Into that darkness stepped Marpa's wife, Dakmema. She is a Kalyana Mitra, a good friend and teacher in her own right, standing in the center of Milarepa's transformation. She fed him when he would have starved. She counseled him when despair pressed him to the edge of suicide. She risked her own treasure, the turquoise hidden as her private security, to press his case. And when Marpa's wrath closed every gate, she opened a door by teaching him Dorje Phagmo practice, Vajravaraha, the Thunderbolt Sao. This was no small gesture. She gave him method, a living line of transmission. In the Kagyu world, this practice belongs to the heart of realization. Her presence aligns with the Avatam Saka's Gandavyuha, Sudana's pilgrimage where teachers appear in every guise, including women who embody entire stages of the Bodhisattva path. She is one of these guides. The colonial habit has erased or diminished them, but the sutras preserve their equal authority. Dakmima stands in that same stream, and Vajravaraha is not an ornament on the side of practice. She is the fierce mother of realization. Kukai called her by her Sanskrit name and sang of her as the Vajra that cuts delusion, the Sao that digs up hidden roots. To receive her practice from Dakmima was to be given not just consolation but a weapon of wisdom, sharp and blazing, hidden in a woman's hand. For our practice today, this matters deeply. Good friendship is not one-sided or gendered. A harsh guide may strike, but another good friend may feed, counsel, and even place the Dharma directly in your palm. Both are Vajra methods. Both are necessary. Dakmima's teaching shows us that the Bodhisattva path is never carried by a single figure. It is a net of voices, each with medicine suited to the moment. If we ignore the women who teach, we blind ourselves to half the path. If we see them clearly, the turning can happen. The sore-backed sorcerer can become a bodhisattva, and despair can ripen into vow.